We have made it to our last video on factoring. This one is going to be on what's called the AC method of factoring. And the AC method is just a shortcut way of factoring in quadratic and standard form where our leading coefficient isn't 1. If you look at the standard form for a quadratic equation here, you've seen this before. A is the number in front of x squared, b we consider the number in front of x, and c is the constant term on the end. Those are what we call coefficients, and a is going to be our big focus here. Everything we've done to this point has either had a be 1 or a was a common factor that could be divided out. But what if a isn't 1? What if this number in front is a value that is not 1 and can't be factored out? This is going to make for some difficulty. Let's go ahead and look at the multiplication example. Just like every other factoring problem, factoring form we've looked at, we start with multiplication because factoring is working backwards from multiplication. If I take 2x plus 3 times 3x minus 5, that's my 6x squared, minus 10x, we have our minus 10x, and then a plus 9x, that makes a negative 1x, and 3 and negative 5 multiplied to negative 15. So that's how we get here. But how in the world can we go this way? How can I go backwards from what's in the box to the factored form? Because you notice the 5 and 3 no longer work. 3 and negative 5 do add to negative 15, but they do not, they multiply to negative 15, they do not add to negative 1. So therefore our nice little shortcut or factoring trick does not apply here. So what can we do? We have two methods we can choose from. The first one is a guess and check method, where you take all the factors of 6. It could be 1 and 6, it could be 2 and 3. You take all the factors of 15, 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and then you have to include all the negative portions of that. So this could be a negative 2 and a negative 3, a negative 1 and a negative 6, a negative 1 and a positive 15, a negative 3 and a positive 5, a negative 5 and a positive 3, a negative 15 and a positive 1. You see you get into a lot of different scenarios. And then we would have to just guess and check. Take all our factors, try them all by creating different values for our factors and guess and check and see if they work. I don't like guessing and checking, especially not when you get into some of these problems. They're going to have a large number of factors. So we're going to use this or. There's another option here for factoring these, and that's what we're going to use in this class. We're going to use what's called the AC method of factoring. The AC method is a little more complex than our basic factoring rules, but it's a nice method that works all the time. It will always get us to our factors without having to do a guess and check method. When you look at our expression, we have 4x squared minus 4x minus 15. We have that 4 in front, and that 4 is not a factor of both b and c. 4 can't be divided out because you can't divide 15 by 4 evenly. So that leaves us with this situation. An equation or an expression that has a leading coefficient greater than 1. How we factor that is we're going to follow these steps over here that are what are called the AC method. It's going to mix together all the different types of factoring we have done. We call it the AC method because you have A, B, and C, just like we talked about at the beginning. And our first step is to multiply A by C. A is 4, C is negative 15. That multiplies to negative 60. Now, we're going to do exactly what we did with our regular trinomial factoring, where we're looking for two numbers that multiply to one thing and add to another. The only difference is we're not using 15 as our multiplier. We're going to use this negative 60. So we're looking for numbers that go into negative 60 and add to negative 4. So they multiply to a times c and they add to b. Those two numbers are 10 and 6, where the 10 has to be negative, because negative 10 times 6 would be negative 60. Negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4. This is not as nice as trinomial factoring. I'm not just done now. I have to use these two values, negative 10 and 6, to rewrite the expression. I'm going to erase this so it's out of our way. 4x squared minus 10x plus 6x minus 15. That's the exact same expression as what's up here. I just replaced negative 4x as negative 10x plus 6x. That's an equivalent form, and the 10 and the 6 came from this 60 and this 4, negative 10 and 6. Now, from yesterday, this should be setting off some alarm bells in your head. I have 4 terms. I can factor by grouping. Out of 4x squared and 10x, I can divide out 2x. 2x minus 5. Out of 6x and negative 15, I can divide out a positive 3, which leaves with 2x minus 5. So our common factor is 2x minus 5, and what's left is 2x plus 3. I now have the factors of 4x squared minus 4x minus 15. The AC method is longer, but it is a method that'll work all the time, and if you can factor by grouping, it's a method that you can do consistently. Let's look at these steps on a slightly larger numbered problem. So when I look at a trinomial like 15x squared plus 38x plus 24, first thing I recognize is there is no common factor. There is nothing that goes into 15, 38, and 24. So therefore I'm going to have to use the AC method because I can't factor anything out. 15 times 24, I multiply a times c, that's step 1. That gets to 360. Now, I need numbers that go into 360 and add up to 38. That's step 2 on our list for the AC method. Now, you probably don't know those off the top of your head. This is when you use a calculator. I would probably start with 36 and 10 because I know 360 divides by 10 evenly. 10 and 36 add up to 46, so that's way too much. I'm going to try some numbers that are closer together. And as I do that, eventually I will come up with the two values of 20 and 18. 20 times 18 is 360, and 20 plus 18 is 38. So I can rewrite my expression as 15x squared plus 20x plus 18x plus 24. Now, people will commonly ask the question, what if I made my order different? What if I switched those around and said 18 and 20 and put 18 here and 20 there? You would get to the exact same solution, so it's fine if you change the order. It won't make any difference when you get to your answer. Now I have 4 terms, factor by grouping. 5x, 3x plus 4. Out of our second term, 18x and 24, I can divide out a positive 6, 3x plus 4. My parentheses match, so I can factor out 3x plus 4 times 5x plus 6. There's my factored form. Alright, the AC method is a very helpful tool that saves a lot of time compared to old methods of doing this. We'll practice a few of these today. Remember your test on Tuesday.